Last updated, June 2020. Appendices. Black Circle Appendix 1 Extendicare's Employee Hotline Sign. Related and Supplemental Policies. RC 02-01-01 Policy. All persons, including but not limited to employees, physicians, residents, students, contracted individuals, and volunteers, are assured that when making a disclosure, if in good faith, they will be protected from actual, or threats of, retribution for raising legitimate concerns or for giving evidence in an investigation, during an inspection, or during a coroner's inquest. All reports will be treated as confidential, subject to the need to conduct an effective investigation or take action in compliance with regulatory requirements. The Home will ensure that there is no retaliation against those who make reports. Any attempt to identify a person who submits a report on an anonymous or confidential basis will not be tolerated. The policy and procedures herein operate subject to applicable legislation and collective agreements. The Home will comply with all provincial, regional, and local health authority written directives/provisions regarding whistleblower protection. Violation of any of the above by a representative of the Home will result in discipline up to and including termination. Background. Extendicare is committed to providing a safe and secure environment in which all residents are treated with dignity and respect and protected from all forms of abuse or neglect at all times. Procedures. Administrator confidentiality. 1. Maintain the anonymity of any individual who makes a legitimate disclosure and/or testifies, where circumstances warrant. Through the course of an whistleblower protection. Procedures. Investigation. The administrator/designate, and all those involved through the course of the investigation, will undertake all reasonable efforts to protect the confidentiality of the complainant. No retaliation or discouragement of reporting in good faith. 1. Protect a resident, and his or her family members, substitute decision-maker/power of attorney or other person, against any threats or discrimination in connection with disclosure of anything to an inspector, or regulatory authority, or giving evidence in a proceeding in accordance with provincial legislation and/or during a coroner's inquest. 2. Protect persons who work at the Home, example employees, contractors, agency staff, volunteers, from harassment, coercion, penalty, or discipline in the context of the following. A. Reports made in good faith under this policy, and b. Disclosure of anything to an inspector or the regulatory authority, or giving evidence in a proceeding in accordance with provincial legislation and/or during a coroner's inquest. Investigation. 1. Ensure all reports of misconduct are processed and responded to in consultation with the regional director and People and Culture. 2. Document the disclosure report in a log of complaints, and open a file, which will be maintained in a secure location to protect the confidentiality of the complainant. 3. Determine whether the complaint pertains to a subject matter covered under this policy or addressed more adequately by another policy of the organization. 4. If the complaint is covered by this policy, an investigation will be undertaken within a reasonable time frame, recognizing the nature and complexity of the complaint and any issues arising therein. In conducting the investigation, the administrator/designate may enlist the support and/or guidance of legal counsel, accounting, operations, human resources, professional practice, or other advisors as appropriate. 5. Refer the complaint to the appropriate law enforcement or regulatory authorities, if applicable. 6. Report the findings to the complainant in writing after the investigation has been completed. 7. Retain as part of the record all complaints, reports, concerns, and documentation related to the investigation, for a period of no less than 7 years. Whistleblower protection. Procedures. 8. Maintain a record of all complaints and actions taken in the complaint log, as per the Complaints and Customer Service Policy. 9. Monitor the resolution of concerns/complaints monthly to identify trends and opportunities for quality improvement. 10. Review trends and actions taken at Resident Care or CQI Committee. Revise action plan as needed. Forward suggestions for policy or process improvement to the Quality Department. 11. Review concerns/complaints management process with resident and family councils, where applicable. Document concerns and recommendations and report back as appropriate. 12. Ensure brochures and posting of information outlining the processes to lodge a concern/complaint or make an anonymous disclosure are available, visible, and accessible. Staff/other relevant persons. Reporting. 1. Any person making a report will be protected from all forms of retaliation. 2. All persons, including but not limited to employees, physicians, residents, students, contracted individuals, and volunteers, are expected to fully cooperate in the investigation. 3. As per our complaints and customer service policy, individuals may report a concern in any number of ways, including, but not limited to, reporting directly to a member of the management team or reporting via the Extendicare toll-free hotline. 1-866-382-7609 reporting via Extendicare's toll-free hotline. 1. Staff/other relevant persons may make reports/disclosures via the Extendicare toll-free hotline, a voicemail system available 24 hours a day to report concerns about misconduct. Callers may identify themselves or choose to remain anonymous. Callers are encouraged to provide as much information as possible so that the information is sufficient to enable a full investigation. Information should include at minimum: A. Details explaining the nature of the incident and the concern. B. Specific details as to the date, time, and where the incident occurred and the names and titles of the individuals involved. C. If there was any actual or potential risk to safety and if any adverse events occurred, and D. The home, region, branch, office, or corporate department to which the concern relates. Whistleblower protection. Procedures. 2. Staff must not do anything to discourage A. Reports under this policy. B. Mandatory/immediate reports under provincial legislation, or C. Disclosures to an inspector or regulatory authority, or the giving of evidence in a proceeding in accordance with provincial legislation or during a coroner's inquest. 3. A staff member who retaliates, threatens a resident, or discourages a report in breach of this policy by any person may be subject to disciplinary action, which may include discipline up to and including termination. 4. In making a report under this policy, a person must not act maliciously or in bad faith. A person who makes a report maliciously or in bad faith may be subject to disciplinary action, up to and including termination. Media requests. 1. Employees, physicians, students, contracted individuals, and volunteers who are contacted by the media with respect to an investigation, will refer the media to the Extendicare's Communications Division. Legitimate issues or concerns in connection with an act or omission that could adversely impact the organization at large, the operations of the home, our residents, stakeholders, employees, or the public at large are reportable and include, but are not limited to: knowingly directing or advising someone to commit any wrongdoing, improper or incompetent treatment or care of a resident, fraudulent or criminal acts, financial mismanagement, including fraud, misappropriation or other questionable accounting practices, misuse or misappropriation of resident assets, failure to comply with legal or regulatory obligations, failure to comply with, or efforts to circumvent, internal policies and/or internal controls. Actions that are incompatible with public policy and/or endanger health or safety or welfare or might cause environmental damage. Any abuse of power, including harassment, bullying, or acts of abuse or neglect towards a resident by any person. Knowingly directing or advising someone to commit any wrongdoing described above, and actions designed to have the effect of concealing any of the above. Whistleblower protection. Bad faith. A disclosure report made for personal gain or for any underhanded motive. Disclosure. Information disclosed within the organization in good faith, based on reasonable belief that someone has committed or intends to commit misconduct. Good faith. A reasonable belief by the complainant that the disclosure report is true, could show a wrongdoing has been committed and/or is about to be committed. Misconduct. Conduct that seriously and/or persistently violates policies and procedures and/or legislative or jurisdictional requirements. Retribution/retaliation. Taking action against a person because that person, in good faith, asked for advice about making a disclosure, made a disclosure or cooperated in an investigation. Retribution includes, but is not limited to, discharge, suspension, reprimand, demotion, coercion, intimidation, harassment, constructive dismissal, blacklisting, involuntary transfer, or other adverse employment action taken against an employee with respect to the employee's terms and conditions of employment or other actions which adversely affects employment or working conditions. Staff. Staff includes employees, agency staff, contractors, and others who work at the home under contract or agreement with the home. Alternative to silence, whistleblower protection in 10 European countries, global. Government of Canada, the Public Servants Disclosure Protection Act, SC 2005, C.46. Winnipeg Regional Health Authority, new protection for whistleblowers, it's safe to tell. Manitoba Public Interest Disclosure, Whistleblower Protection, Act, CCSMCP 217. Ontario Long-Term Care Homes Act, Ontario Regulation 79/10. Saskatchewan Whistleblower Protection Act, 2004. Extendicare's intranet is the official source of current approved policies, procedures, best practices, and directives. Extendicare's employee hotline sign. Last updated, June 2020. This 8.5x11 poster from Extendicare's intranet in color or. The goal of the employee hotline is to ensure that Extendicare/PRMD continues to provide a healthy quality environment for residents/clients and staff. The quality of life of each resident/client is to be supported by an atmosphere and programs which consider each resident/client's worth and dignity, protect individuality, and which meet their specific needs. The commitment to residential DENTS and Extendicare/PRMD standards and policies provide the foundation for the provision of care and services. A voicemail system is available 24 hours a day to report concerns about violations of standards, policy, or accounting controls or auditing matters. Although it is more helpful to identify yourself, if you choose to make an anonymous report, please leave the following information at a minimum. A detailed statement explaining the concern and type of suspected improper or non-compliant activity or conduct. The dates or time period of the suspected improper or non-compliant activity or conduct, and the facility, branch, office, or corporate department to which the concern relates. Please be aware that this policy does not release you of your obligations to report resident incidents, issues, or concerns as required and defined under provincial legislation and regulation and Extendicare corporate policy. For further information, refer to the Standards of Employee Conduct, the Whistleblower and/or the Business Ethics Policies. Remember, compliance with company standards and policies, professional standards, federal or provincial legislation is everyone's responsibility.